That's right, right there, Daniel Defense. Now, if you do not know who Daniel Defense is, you probably should. So throughout my life, I have gone out of my way to purchase Daniel Defense products over others, even though they're generally going to be more expensive, because I trust that name and I have personal experience with the quality Daniel Defense offers. Now, I have been wanting the Daniel Defense DDM4 style rifle for quite some time for a few different reasons. I like how it was optioned, I like their rails, and again, that overall quality. So I ordered up this DDM4 V7 and got it out there on the range and started to have some fun with it. Well, I got out there on the range and just did the basic stuff that I like to do when I've got something new, and that's running those basic drills that I like to do just to kind of stay fresh on things and just kind of acclimating to that new setup. This is mostly very similar to things that I have now, but there are generally going to be some little differences, whether it's in the feel of the rail, maybe that ambidextrous safety, or maybe the angle of the pistol grip on them. And this one was definitely a little bit different than some of the other ones that I have in the way it felt, especially in the recoil. And as I started running this thing, I kind of think that I maybe had just overhyped it in my head a little bit, because right away I noticed a few things that kind of, I guess, just didn't fit me, my style, or that I thought should have been just a little bit better. But before we get into all that stuff, I want to show you guys this thing up close and give you a look at all the specs on it so you kind of understand what this comes equipped with, because there are several different versions from Daniel Defense out there on the market, from SBRs all the way through kind of their more precision style setups. And if you're interested in the Dare to Resist infringement shirt, those are available at Shall Not Comply, and I will leave a link down below for that. We're gonna get into the specs on this rifle right now. All right, so let's go ahead and get into just kind of the basic specs on this, and I will break it down so you guys can get a better look at it, since this is a lot to have over my overhead rig right here. So let's go through basically kind of the overall weight length specs so you guys have that real quick. So obviously this is 5.56 NATO, half by 28 threads on the muzzle right there with the Daniel Defense specific muzzle brake on it. Is a mid-length gas system, 16-inch barrel, government profile coming in at 6.2 pounds. Length is going to be 32.25 to 35 7/8 depending on where you have the stock adjusted. It does come with a single magazine, and then of course it does come with a plastic case and a different butt pad right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and break this down so we can get a better look kind of overall of the rifle as I explain it. All right, so now that I got this broke down, we're gonna go ahead and take this from buttstock to the end that goes bang. Dealing with, of course, the Daniel Defense. So this is their proprietary buttstock right here. It's actually got a very nice angle, very nice rolled edge right here to roll this up into your shoulder. Got a secondary butt pad that you can put on here if you want a little bit of a thicker or thinner one, up to you. You have some integrated QD points on both sides right there, and then they're kind of rubberized inlay right there for like a cheek rest. And it's got almost that kind of SOP mod, angled grip to it like that, or angled section to it here for your chin, which is very, very common. A little bit of a different activator button right there than some others, and it is a 6-position stock, so you can get it ultra short or a little bit longer. You are going to get a QD point in the rear there, and it does come with the QD attachment. And you can see here the castle nut has been properly staked. I will say that every single part on here, just get it out of the way, seems very nicely machined. And overall, the quality of this is absolutely awesome. So you are going to get an ambidextrous safety right there. It is a full 90-degree safety. And we're going to talk more about that later, because not my favorite thing there. Coming up forward into the grip, you got the Daniel Defense grip right there with a single finger groove, a little bit less of an aggressive angle. Again, that rubberized coating does have a bottom container floor plate right there, so you can put stuff in it. Overall, very nice. So this one did come, oh, and this is all one piece, and it does have the glove size bottom right here on the trigger guard. So it's one section, one piece, so you don't have to worry about buying a different one or anything. All together, and that's the way it comes from Daniel Defense. Moving forward, got an ambi mag release right there from Troy. Works quite well. Not really used them a whole lot. Generally, I just use my trigger finger on the off side, but there is a time and a place to use an off-sided mag release there. We do get a nicely beveled magazine well right there, so a little bit more of an edge there, which is definitely nice to see, because sometimes people go to aftermarket mag wells. This one, it is integrated. As far as everything goes in here, it's definitely gonna be mil spec. We have the H buffer in there, right there. You can see it's marked with a single H. And we do have a standard mil spec trigger, but I'm gonna kind of show you this and then we'll talk about it a little bit more as well. So you've got kind of that standard mil spec play in the trigger, but then you've got a lot of movement. So you can see a lot of movement, a lot of creep, a lot of grit. Then it kind of breaks, resets, but there's just a lot of nastiness in that trigger. So again, kind of gnarly, but that's just how it comes. Let's work our way into the upper right here, this version right here, which is a great charging handle, ambidextrous style, of course. Then you do get your MPI high pressure tested Daniel Defense bolt right here with their logo on it. Everything has been properly staked. You can actually see the staking in there is very well done, very nice. Definitely something to look for when you are buying a setup. Okay, so obviously the optic and the sights and the light and the barricade stop here do not come with the rifle, so don't take those into account. You're gonna have a T-marked upper all the way forward. You can see all of the markings on there. You should know what that stuff is for. Obviously that full pick rail in there. You've got a standard looking upper everywhere else. You do get a polymer ejection cover right there, which does save a little weight because this thing is pretty lightweight. Coming on the left-hand side here, you're gonna see the 5.56 marking with a little projectile right there, and then the DDM4 V7, which is the version of this rifle. Moving forward, you'll see that rail that Daniel Defense is pretty much known for, the MFR rail, and these things can take an extreme beating the way that these lock in here and bolt up to not only the upper receiver, but then back into the rail itself right there via those 4 screws, those Allen heads you can see right there. You will get a couple of QD points on the back, and then you do get a couple on the front. Got that nice 15-inch M-LOK rail going all the way forward. You're gonna have 7 slots of M-LOK going around there. You got M-LOK for days here. Coming forward to that, you got your basic kind of setup here, and then your standard kind of Daniel Defense version of a bird cage. The gas block you can see right there is pinned, it's going to give you the ultimate in reliability when it comes to a pinned gas block play. How tight are the tolerances? If you don't know, a mil spec is a range of tolerance, and you can see there is no movement between that upper and the lower receiver. I have some that are so sloppy they literally wiggle like that. One of the other things I always check for too is a lot of what you need to know about how a rifle was built is that first couple pulls of the charging handle. So this thing is just, you can hear it right there, just super buttery smooth. Just buttery smooth, no grit, no grinding, and that's kind of just how it comes out of the factory. Well, let's go ahead and talk about how this thing performs on the range, and if there are pieces on this, I would change, especially at the price point. All right, so now that you know those specs, this rifle, now it's not overly expensive, but it is definitely not overly cheap or the cheapest one on the market as well. You do get some really good stuff with it. And like I said, a lot of good stuff goes into the Daniel Defense products. They use nicer parts pretty much all throughout their setups. A lot of what you're gonna need to know when it comes to a rifle is that first pull of the charging handle. That's gonna give you a really good idea of how precisely everything in there is machined and how it fits together. If it just feels like there's sand or sandpaper in there, you're probably not getting a very nice setup. This thing, super smooth right off the bat. But the question is still gonna be there, is this rifle worth your hard-earned money? We all know anytime you get a government contract like Daniel Defense has had, you get to charge a little bit more for your product and people are just flat out gonna buy it. You get yourself a couple of SOCOM SKUs and your price really goes north. That has to do with the Mark 18, the rails that they've had, because they are some of the nicer rails out there and they can definitely take an incredible amount of pressure and beating out there. There are videos online that you can see of some torture tests of the Daniel Defense rails. Look them up and you'll see just how solid they are. Let's talk about what I really like about this rifle. And I wasn't real sure about it at first, but the grip. I actually decided that I really did like that. For some odd reason, even in some of the pistols, I really like that single finger groove. And I'm normally not a fan of finger grooves at all. Feels great. It's a less aggressive angle than your standard kind of A2 style grip, and it just felt really good out there on the range. Also, their stock, I actually do like it quite a bit. You do get that secondary setup on there if you want a little bit of a different. Here, we will see how long that stuff lasts, but it is definitely good. Of course, the rail, this MFR rail, Daniel Defense is known for some of their rails. It's very nice. Connection point up here on the fore end of that upper receiver, you're gonna know it's gonna take a lot of beating once you see how this thing is connected in there. Plenty of room on there, 7 different slots of that M-LOK rail, and then a full pick rail across the top. It's just a very nice rail. And then of course, like I said already, just the quality of the overall small parts in here, the machining and everything, and just how it, you know, feels when you cycle that charging handle by hand. You know that is a very nicely well-machined setup right out of the gate. Let's get into a couple of those things that I don't necessarily like, or that I think should have been maybe a little bit better right out of the box at this price point. Number one's gonna be that trigger. That trigger is nothing short of terrible. This trigger is horrible. I don't know what Daniel Defense is putting in there for those, but it's got this weird 2-stagey, gritty, gnarly feel to it. I mean, it's literally worse than any other mil-spec trigger that I currently have. Now, we will see if that gets better over time, but I don't have high hopes that trigger's getting any better, and it's likely gonna get changed out. Another thing that might be just kind of small is going to be the actual ambi safety on here. So originally when I bought this, I thought it was the stubby on the right-hand side since I'm right-handed. So anytime I go to manipulate that safety, you get that right there where I just basically hit my firing control hand there, and I have to break my grip to manipulate that safety off and on. I don't like that safety. I keep hitting my hand on the offside. God damn it, every time, dude. A fucking safety, I go to pull the trigger and I hit it right back on. Now you can get around that with training or just getting more used to that rifle, but on most of my rifles, I'm either running a 45-degree short throw, which only goes to there, or I'm running that stubby offside right there, which just fits my grip better. So that might be a little bit of a wash, but definitely something to pay attention to. Now, the last thing for me, and this is kind of a big one, was just overall the way that this thing shoots and that recoil impulse. Shoots heavy. Yeah. Shoots a little heavy. So we got that pinned gas block up there and that mid-length gas system, which should make for a very soft shooting rifle. The pinned gas block is absolutely great because it's going to give you the maximum durability. It's not going to walk or back out. It does have an H buffer in it, but the thing literally fires. Okay, it's gonna be odd to say this, like 5.56 rifles are not violent, but this thing fires way more violent than almost every other rifle that I own, even ones that have carbine length gas systems. I don't know if it's the barrel that was maybe drilled oversized in the gas port. It's got an H buffer. Like I said, it could probably use an H2 or even possibly an H3 to bring this down to the level of what my other setups are running with a mid-length gas system and a standard H buffer, or even a carbine buffer in one of my 10.5-inch guns that I ran for years. This thing literally recoils more than those. And that was kind of a big thing to me. I was thinking at this price point for the Daniel Defense, you should have got a little bit more finely tuned setup. And like I said, H2, maybe even an H3, or changing out to an adjustable gas block to really bring the calmness back to this rifle. So we get back to that question of, is this going to be worth your hard-earned American dollar? And it's anywhere from, I wanna say someone said they got one recently from $1,500 and I've seen it for $1,750 or above. Bought this with my own money, and I did have a test group of 2 because one of my good friends bought one at the same time. He had the exact same experience with his out there with the safety and the gas system and all that. So it wasn't just a one-off, which was kind of nice to have a test group of 2 because you get a little bit better of a feeling overall of what is going on. So back to that question of, is this rifle worth anywhere from $1,500 to $1,700, which is what the MSRP is, of your hard-earned money? Even though it's got a few of those small problems, I'm going to say absolutely. This rifle is going to give you thousands and thousands of rounds and years of use out there. Everything from the way that it is machined down to the small parts, and you can tell are extremely high quality, very nice. It just needs a couple of little things to, I guess, maybe fit my needs a little bit better, or what I think it should be. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I might have overhyped this a little bit, but I still feel that it should have a little bit better of a trigger, a little bit better of a safety, and should definitely recoil a little bit smoother than the way it is. When it comes down to it, all of those little things that I would change are pretty cheap and generally were things I would probably mess around with anyways, just to really dial this thing in between the safety, a trigger, and maybe an H2 or possibly an H3. I did run PMC ammo through this, basic range ammo, basic federal ammo, and of course that tool ammo steel, because I just got a buttload of that laying around right now to go out there and plink with to make these videos. And I am really curious to know your all's experience with Daniel Defense, whether it was a Mark 18 upper or a full build from them. Let me know in the comments down below what your experience has been with just pretty much anything out of the Daniel Defense brand. Because like I said, I've oftentimes paid a little bit more for Daniel Defense over others, just because I trust and like that brand. Well, that is what I have for you guys today. I hope you guys liked learning about the DDM4 V7 setup that I have here. Again, like I said, solid rifle setup, just a couple things I'm gonna tweak on it. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Get out there, have some fun. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel, turn the bell notification icons on. If you learned anything or thought this video was good, definitely give it a like. If you're interested in any of the swag here from the channel, you can check out Shall Not Comply to get your Dare to Resist infringement shirt as well. You guys get out there, have some fun on the range. Remember, if you stay ready, you ain't gotta get ready. We will see you guys on the next one.